This podcast is part of the Midwest Podcast Network. Find out more about our other shows and how to support our network at MidwestPodcastNetwork.com. Welcome to Gone to Texas, a podcast about AMC's Preacher. My name is Alex, and I have not read any of Ennis and Dillon's Preacher.
And my name is Nick, and I have read all of Ennis and Dillon's Preacher.
Today we will be discussing Season 3, Episode 4 of the AMC series titled The Tombs. While we will not be spoiling any of the comic and by extension any future plot lines of the show, we will be discussing the details of the series through Season 3, Episode 4, so pause this and go catch up before you listen to the rest of our episode. You can find more episodes of our podcast at g2tpodcast.com. That's the letter G, number 2, letter T, podcast.com. We're also G2T Podcast on Twitter, and you can send feedback to g2tpodcast@gmail.com. If you enjoy this show or any other show on the Midwest Podcast Network, please consider heading over to patreon.com/MidwestPodnet. That's MidwestPodnet, and pledge as little as $1 a month to making our network even better. Special thanks to Jason K., who is pledged at the level of $10 per month. For corrections, last week I said that Cassidy said he wasn't leaving without it, referring to the love potion, because that's what the closed caption said. Mm-hmm. And this week, in the last time on, it had it corrected, and it says her.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Which makes more sense, but it seemed weird anyway. But just a little correction there. And then this week, we do have an email from our friend Joseph. Joseph says, "Hey guys, first, young and modern Jesse both use get it, got it, good, which is a catchphrase Danny Kaye uses in The Court Jester, a delightfully silly and innocent Robin Hood-style movie from 1956, starring Kaye at his prime, Basil Rathbone, and a stunningly smoking hot Angela Lansbury. If it's intentional, then I wonder if Jesse watched the movie with his dad and if it will pay off. Now, if only there's a way to introduce the vessel with the pestle has the pellet with the poison, the flagon with the dragon holds the brew that is true." As for this episode, speaking of the tombs, he says, "I thought it was very smart. After really bringing us down with how bad everyone can be, the show showed us just a crack of hope. Tulip trusts and knows Jesse well enough to know that what he told Madam Boyd was BS and is true blue enough to stick around, and Cassie decides at the end of the day that if Tulip doesn't love him, then using the love spell would be wrong. I guess it depends on how it works for different viewers, but in hindsight, these 4 episodes have worked masterfully for me. The writers sunk me into despair with these characters and then brought me back up, and I'm rooting for all 3 of them to give the launch elves their comeuppance." And then he said, "P.S. I wrote a ton on the Discord, but unless one of you really wants to talk about it, we can save it for the Patreon subscribers." I think we will do just that, Joseph. Everybody, there's some good discussion going on the Patreon. Please consider just giving us the $5 a month to join the Patreon if you would like to join in on the conversation, usually on the Monday after the episode airs.
Yeah, there's some good stuff that just keeps happening.
Absolutely. We've started also general comic and television channels in which people can talk about comics and television, of course. But Joseph, thank you very much for the email. I told him in the Discord that the get it, got it good to me it's somewhat ubiquitous.
Yeah, I think it's the kind of thing that's been like appropriated by like Animaniacs and stuff like that. Like I'm sure as kids we watched something that referenced it, and it's part of just the common cultural like lexicon at this point. Exactly.
So, but
I feel like one of the Ninja Turtles says it in one of the Turtles movies. I just can't think of which. But
I wouldn't be. That sounds about right. At some point in the first movie or something. But it's also not out of the realm. Like we know that most of these characters talk about movies quite a bit.
Yeah.
So the idea that Jesse is a movie buff and has seen The Court Jester it's not out of the realm of possibility. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So no, I think it's a great observation. And hopefully Joseph was pleased with my reading of the tongue twistery line. The vessel with the pestle has the pellet with the poison, the flagon with the dragon holds the brew that is true. I fucked it up the second time. I shouldn't have tried. But thank you, Joseph.
Shame.
We can comment on the rest of the stuff as we talk about the episodes. So.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's start with the teaser. The Saint of Killers finally gets his meeting with Satan. Stepping out onto floor -9, the Saint is greeted with hellfire and skulls and a gaudy office with Satan and Sydney, the angel of death, waiting inside. Satan plays buddy-buddy but needs to keep his reputation so he can successfully pull off his expansion plan now that God is gone. So he is forced to torture the Saint, which he takes great pleasure in. Good to see the Saint of Killers.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about his reintroduction to the series?
I think I really, really loved the detail of the guard walking to his door, and we see the bit of the crow like pecking out the eyes and stuff
from the projector.
Like, oh, so we know he's just chilling in there, reliving it again, even more.
I like how it adds context to Fior and DeBlanc showing up in it when they come to get him originally. The idea that they opened that door up and like walked in and were in that memory of his.
Yes, yeah.
Is just it connects all the dots.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. I
Yeah.
didn't think about that. Yeah, the elevator ride was funny, and I really loved. They always light the Saint in such cool ways. I really liked the lighting in the elevator. It was really cool.
Yeah, you get that little bit of just his chin this time around.
And the 9 floors.
Yep.
Down. Didn't really love the portrayal of Satan. To be honest. I think it's the kind of thing that I just I don't know. I don't know why it didn't work, I guess, for me.
Well, and
I think it's a little too smarmy. He's just like he's a little too wackadoodle for me, and I was like,
well, all right, I'll bring up some Patreon stuff. Here's your little preview for Patreon here. Bruce did write in the Patreon. He said, basic thoughts. Hell was actually interesting for the first time since early in season 2. Satan was hilarious and reasonably comic accurate. And then Joseph wrote in and said, agreed, except that Whedon kind of ruined banal villains for me. So I think the
ruined as in like Whedon does it well, so other ones come off cheap, or I'm fatigued.
He's done it too much, and therefore I'm sick of it now. I don't. Joseph will have to let us know what he actually thinks of that. Bruce wrote back and said, "I suppose it's a good thing I've seen relatively few Whedon things, so maybe the fatigue is." No. So Joseph says it's tough to beat the Mayor and the Holland Masters and Lila, I guess. So he does like the ones that Whedon has done.
That's it's funny. It's actually kind of both. Like, you might enjoy the way Whedon does it, but also because Whedon helped make that. I feel like he was sort of helped drive that sort of like villain behavior that we see it so often now, and you can also be pretty exhausted. I think that's probably it for me. I'm just kind of quippiness is. Man, there's so much of it. It's like the low-hanging fruit now. It feels like just an easy way to write a villain that you think is supposed to be charismatic or interesting is to make them quippy. They don't need to be.
Yeah, it's like it's a weird shorthand of like
just I'll give him some, and it's hard.
Oh, he's interesting because he has jokes.
Yeah, exactly. And it's hard to single out the Prince of Darkness in this because the whole show is kind of that way. Like, most characters are that way, but I guess not, because TC and Jody, I wouldn't even say they're very quippy. They're just kind of who they are. They're not like Satan's kind of a tryhard.
Well,
which maybe is appropriate. I mean, I'm probably not supposed to think he's compelling. I'm probably supposed to be irritated by him, but I don't know, something about it. I was just kind of like,
comparing it to like Mark Harlick's God. Which is a thing that I'm so glad I just said. Like, God is played pretty straight, minus the fact that he's wearing like a dog gimp suit.
Yeah, he works better. I don't know why, but I could see these two. I could see Mark Harlick's God and Satan being really irritated, like just getting each other's goat. I could see these two really not getting along, and so that, I guess, kind of works in its favor. It's the kind of show, this show is, so much of it is done so well and is so clearly done with intent that every time I want to criticize something, I think they must have done it that way for a reason, and it makes me not want to criticize it, which is, I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know if like the show is that strong in its design that I'm willing to accept things that my gut doesn't initially like, or if I'm just giving it excuses. But either way, For some reason, I just didn't enjoy it.
That's
I didn't
fair.
laugh. I didn't think it was funny. I thought the gaudy office was funny.
Yeah. The like LCD fire floor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was hilarious.
Which I did not think was like them trying to be like, oh, there's just fire underneath the floor. I just thought God has an LCD floor.
Satan.
Yeah, Satan has an LCD floor.
God might have an LCD floor.
That's
too,
true
with,
too.
Like clouds or something. Yeah, that was funny. That was a funny detail, and I like that he kind of tells the angel of death, like, chill out.
Yeah,
you're good.
Yeah,
he's not here to replace you. That's kind of what I thought. I'm gonna have to jump into the book spoilers. I think in the Discord, to talk about this further.
Yeah.
The interaction between the saint and Satan is not satisfying to me, but it's because it doesn't go the same route as the book, and maybe it will eventually. But that's all I have to say, I guess, about it.
Okay. All right.
I did think it was funny how he starts like he says, "I gotta punish you, sorry," and like they start just like flogging the bejesus out of him, and he just takes it.
Yep.
And I was like, oh,
no
right.
winces, nothing.
Not even a blink, hardly.
Yeah, I can't. I think people on the subreddit were excited that I think his name is Jason Douglas is the person playing Satan. I don't know exactly what they knew him from previously. It looks like he's done. He was on The Walking Dead, apparently, as some other character that I don't know. But so AMC's keeping it in the family. But it didn't like strike me as like I hate this, but I also wasn't like, oh my God, that is the best Satan that I've ever.
Like, it's weird that I enjoyed.
It's hard to beat Peter Stormare.
I was just gonna say it's weird that I. That's not what I was gonna say. I was gonna say it's weird that I enjoyed Dave Grohl's Satan from the Tenacious D stuff. Like, I liked that more. I don't
and that's
know.
the thing, is that I almost feel like it would have, like, everything would have worked better if it was like someone we knew. Like, if it was like, it could have been Will Ferrell, and it would have been like, okay.
Yeah, that might have been interesting.
I don't know. Like, there's something about it where it's just kind of like, if Satan was played by someone that either we don't expect, or it's like, yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Honestly, when he first was like behind the desk, or like you see him from before you really get to see his features,
yeah.
For like a flash second, I was like, is Mark Harlick playing Satan too?
That would have been really good.
It would have been interesting. But
yeah.
Whatever. It is what it is. We probably won't see him again for a very long time. So, fine. I'm glad Satan made an appearance in the show.
I did. Okay, so one other thing that I liked was the comment of like, he's like, oh, I get it, I would totally get out and breathe some air and eat a Slim Jim.
Yeah,
I was like, that was probably the funniest line that he said to me.
He had lines that were good, like they got a chuckle, but something about the whole, I don't know, just in general, I didn't really love it. So it's fine. There's enough for me to love elsewhere.
He did get off the phone with the Allfather.
Yes.
At the start of the
I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I presume the Allfather will enter the picture shortly.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wondered. Yeah. Well,
I'm just surprised it took like. We still haven't seen Hitler and Eugene. We know kind of where we're headed with that now. It seems like the Saint is going to be going to retrieve them.
Oh. I didn't know who he was talking about.
Okay. I think he's going to retrieve them because I think it looks bad on Satan that they just legitimately escaped.
He said that's two people that are basically screwing with his plans for expansion.
Yeah.
So I wondered if it could be interesting.
Because the Saint got out with the help of angels, but Hitler and Eugene made it out of their own accord.
Yeah, that's true.
Essentially, so. All right, any other thoughts on the teaser?
Nah.
All right. Act 1, Tulip gets locked in with Madame Boyd and ends up shooting a hole through the floor to escape with her. We flash back in the day with young Jesse running the tombs, and we learn that competitors get injected with adrenaline by TC before fighting, and they have to make it to a redemption round to fight Jody and win their souls back. Jesse steps away, seemingly genuinely worried about someone in the audience who needs to pay his debts to Miss Marie, and Jody takes note as he goes out to put down the winner of the fight. Jesse informs TC that they need 2 new contenders, and they talk about Jesse's weekend plans to go see Gladiator again, when TC really knows that that's code for him to go see a girl that Miss Marie wouldn't want him to be with. So we got a little more on the mechanics of the tombs, you know, exactly what's going on. People fighting to win back their souls, but it's all a big crock because Jody's just going to kill whoever wins anyway.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah, like I don't see it going any other way. It seems pretty interesting that they have like, I don't know, with like, I guess we'll get to Cassidy later, but it seemed like there's room for like another champion at least. Or like somebody underneath Jody, kind of in like the Thor Ragnarok situation of like there's the Hulk and then there's also Korg.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
You know,
Korg.
Yeah, good old Korg.
Comparable, you know, good comparisons.
Yeah. But yeah, what did you think about? So I said, I'll still kind of put it out there. I think younger Jesse is for some reason just a tinge more charismatic, and like I find myself more entertained watching him running the show than I do watching Dominic Cooper run the show.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. He's
a little more out of place as a kid.
Yeah, he's not jaded yet. I don't think he's not as run down or beat down yet. Maybe that's why he's just I don't know, I guess. Yeah, he is good. He seems a little more natural. Although Dominic Cooper does flip the switch when he puts the hat on later.
Yeah.
He is a lot more into it. By, you know, as we see, it's kind of a ruse. But
I think Dominic Cooper does a good job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's great. But the young version of Jesse is awesome. I really like the structure and process behind the tombs. It's really like it's like a restaurant. And he's the maitre d', and
he's got to order up 2
he's
more.
He's front of house, and TC is in the kitchen, and I don't know what Jody is. The busboy,
cleanup crew.
Comes to clean up. Yeah, it's fun watching the little economy of Angelville, just like going through the motions. It's fun. I loved the asking about the weekend plans. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
I was like, God, TC, why does this show make me think you're endearing? I was like the Gladiator line. It was funny.
Yeah, well, and someone noted, I think it was in the Discord, I believe it might have been Joseph, or no, maybe it was somewhere on the subreddit, but somebody noted that, or no, it was Bruce. He says the Gladiator references date flashbacks to 2000, and the tombstone is in season 1 dated John Custer's death at 1990, if he recalls correctly. So that's quite a bit of time Jesse spent in Angelville, like 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So how old do you think he was in season 1? Like maybe, probably like 7?
Yeah, something in there.
He seems a little older than like, but he's got to be like 16 by the time we're seeing him here.
Yeah, I would put him in like his teens for sure, or like, you know, high school.
Yeah.
I mean, we see him at high school.
Yep.
So.
Exactly.
Yeah, 16, 17.
Yeah.
It might, depending on, you know, when his birthday is, I guess. And
that's true.
when in the theatrical run of Gladiator he might be going.
Did he get held back?
I don't know if Gladiator it did come out in 2000, not 99.
Yeah.
That's right, because I think it won at the 2001 Academy Awards or something. Anyway, yeah, I mean, the carbon dating seems right.
Yeah. No, that's good. Any other thoughts about what's going on here?
No, I'm enjoying the tombs more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
Initially, I was kind of like, because it's deviation from the book, but I'm liking it.
Yeah, it seems to fit pretty well with the soul thing, which also wasn't book stuff.
Definitely, yeah, and it helps give TC and Jody more purpose than they have in the book.
Okay,
they have a little more function. I
was meaning to ask you, and I guess if you want to not answer this, that's fine.
Okay.
Are we to take it that TC and Jody are Jesse's uncles, or actually children of Grandma?
I don't know.
Because I think in the past when we have discussed, they've been referred to as uncles.
I think they're called uncles.
Yeah, because, I mean, he grew up with them.
Yeah. I don't think that they're actually related in the book, but I can't speak for certain because I still haven't finished my latter half of the Angelville stuff in the books, my reread. But I don't think they're actually related.
Because I was kind of
I guess maybe
the fact that Jody has feelings for Christina. I was kind of like, what does that?
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
Not that he wouldn't be attracted to his own sister, because.
Or they might be cousins or something.
Yeah.
Or he's just. The thing is, like, we don't know how old they are, really. They seem ageless. So that's what I like about them in the books. They're just kind of mysterious. You don't know a ton about them. You don't really need to, you know?
Yeah.
They're very effective the way they are.
That's fair. Yeah. All right. In Act 2, Cassidy wins the fight against the science teacher despite his better intentions, and he loses the love potion on the floor while doing so. Jody, TC, and Jesse work out the plan for the next fight in an hour, and when they split up, Jesse starts cutting Cassidy apart. Tulip is driving around aimlessly with Madam Boyd and decides to ask her why she hates Jesse so much. It turns out that Boyd and Jesse had a relationship when they were young, but Jesse ended their relationship when he thought about what was going on at Angelville. Jesse and Jody head to buy some beer when Jody explains how excited he is to destroy Cassidy tonight. Jesse explains that he can cut Cass into pieces and feed him blood, and he'll be back to normal the next day and make them more money. And Jesse takes note of Jody's fuck communism lighter, and he sets it down on the dash. So the lighter that Jody sets down says fuck communism on it, and Jesse seems to care about it. And I know later on in the episode we see him with it. I don't know if he like stole it back or if it's like the communal lighter or what the deal is, but like would you say that there's special significance to this lighter?
Yes.
Okay.
It does mean something to him.
Okay. All right. I personally cannot remember whether or not we have seen this later earlier in the series. So if anybody wants to write in and let us know, I will happily amend.
He does, in the books, he does see that Jody has it.
Okay.
Right? Like at the beginning of the Angelville, and he loses his shit. So it is important to him.
Interesting. All right. I thought it was interesting that they like cut in on him seeing it, and it made me think, oh, am I supposed to know what that is? But
you will,
yeah,
if you don't already.
All right,
hopefully,
yeah. So we didn't talk about Tulip shooting through the floor. I kind of forgot to talk about that. What did you think of her cartoon strategy to cut a hole in the floor using an Uzi?
Oh, sure.
And then
I accept.
I like her and Madam Boyd together.
Yeah, me too.
I think they work well as like Jesse's as Jesse's girlfriends, and also as like powerful, headstrong women.
Yeah, they're cool. They're cool opposite each other because they're kind of alike, but they're kind of not. They feel like, I don't even want to say they're like two sides of a coin. They're both women that have been like loved and spurned by Jesse.
Yeah.
And they have that in common. But I think it becomes very clear, at least at the end of the episode, that Madam Boyd, what's her name? Sabina,
yeah.
She like loved a teenage boy, and Tulip loves Jesse Custer. Like she knows him clearly.
It was like a first love situation for Sabina, yeah.
Yeah, and Tulip clearly knows Jesse, like really knows him, because he it's very apparent by the end.
Yeah, as well as Joseph said in his email as well. But I also I kind of really liked that like she was a good thing in Jesse's life while he was going through the scene, problems of Angelville.
The scene between the two of them and and her brother, Kenny. It was great. It was like really fun and just like relaxed, and it felt genuine. Yeah, it was weird seeing him like A, with people his own age, but B, like laughing, like actually having fun. So I noted in here that he ended the relationship because he thought about what was going on at Angelville. I wanted to get your thoughts on why you think he ended. I kind of have two reasons that I think could have been why he ended that relationship. But did you have any particular reading by what was like presented to us? No, not really. At first I genuinely thought like, oh man, he was a piece of shit when he was a kid. Like, but then by the end, it's all made clear. But I assume he had a realization that he actually like really liked her, and then he was kind of like, he
didn't want to put her in danger.
Yeah,
with,
exactly.
With the Langels. That was what I thought at first, and then upon rewatch, like he's thinking about Angelville as she is talking about the fact that like, oh, things are going to be so much better when I am getting all the customers instead of your grandma and that type of thing. And part of me almost wondered if it was like he didn't want to be a part of her becoming what Angelville became.
I could see that
as well. So I think it could have been a little column A, a little column B, or maybe it was literally just that he wanted to protect her from grandma. But
he does kind of act that way when he's like, you're not going to screw that up for me, basically. Like, I don't know if he genuinely has it in mind, though. I think we need a little more context into like his post
his escape,
dad being killed years.
Yeah. And it's not so much that I think he's worried about. Like I think he's good-hearted in either intention, because I think he's just kind of like, I don't want you to be abusing people's souls and addictions and things like that in the way that grandma is. And I don't want to be a part of that. But it could go either way, I guess. The simpler explanation is that he liked her and didn't want her to get hurt. But
it also is kind of nice because I kind of like that explanation, because I feel like we need some reasons to root for Jesse again.
Yeah.
He's kind of been a bit of a douche. So we need to get back in his corner.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, and then I guess we'll comment on Cassidy being cut up in the next act. So, any other thoughts?
No, I don't think so.
All right, Act 3. While Jody picks up beer, Jesse mails a mutilated Cassidy to New Orleans with a fresh bag of blood. Cass is confident that Tulip will see Jesse for the jerk that he is, but Jesse firmly believes that he's saving Cassidy's life. Back with Tulip, Madam Boyd finishes her story saying that Jesse killed her brother Kenny, and he felt no remorse about it, but Tulip doesn't believe her and gets her out of the car. We cut back to the shipping/Froyo combo store, and Cassidy seems to have escaped his package, leaving a bloody trail on the floor. So Jesse mailing Cassidy away. There's a lot of Jesse in this episode. We get 2 to 3 very clear stories of Jesse doing what he thinks is right and what probably is right, but also removing the agency of the people he's trying to protect.
Yeah, good point. I think it's that seems to me like very cowboy behavior.
Yeah.
Very John Wayne.
Yep.
And I think in Jesse's mind, I mean, he's definitely the kind of character who thinks he's right.
He's being the savior.
Yeah, and he thinks his way is the best way, and he doesn't want to hear any other perspective. So it's definitely not out of character.
Yeah. Yeah.
For him to just say, I mean, he is sort of the authority on Angelville, so it kind of makes sense that he would be like, I know you, in his mind, they don't understand, and he needs to just do this for them because it's the right thing to do. And it's hard to argue with, because he is, like you said, he is debatably doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if they're his friends and they don't want to leave, I mean, we know Cass wants to stay for Tulip, though, not for Jesse.
That's true.
I think he's maybe acting out a little bit based on that, too.
Yeah. The combo shipping and Froyo store, for some reason, is just hilarious to me.
It works somehow. I like the employee,
They're
too.
like, we need a reason for Jody to allow Jesse to go get something else.
Oh, that part made me laugh. He's like, you want some yogurt? Twist. I was like, yeah, damn right. Twist is great.
Who would say no to getting some Froyo?
And of course he would want Twist. It was awesome.
This is the Tauntaun discussion that happens, which I thought was very funny. The idea that Cassidy thinks they cut the Tauntaun open to like sneak Luke Skywalker out.
Yeah.
But he was just like out in a blizzard.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing to hide from except the weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. That scene was really enjoyable, and it's fun to watch those two banter. Like, I like it when they're, even if they're angry with each other, I like that method of fighting better than like them actually at each other's throats. It's just more entertaining.
Yeah, the bickering that they do is just...
And the two of them are just so good. Like Dominic Cooper and Joe Gilligan are just so awesome together. They have such great chemistry.
Yeah. Cassidy kind of calls Jesse out about being a demented circus worker in the tombs, which I thought was interesting, and we certainly see that Jesse. I don't know if I want to say that he struggles with it necessarily yet, but it seems like it's wearing on him even when he was younger, and that seems to be why he was so hesitant to open it back up when he was older. The idea that like the horrible things that they're doing down there is just profiting off of the death of people whose souls that they've taken. Yeah. I thought that was interesting, especially of Cassie to kind of like pull that string on him. But and then I just had to laugh at I don't know if it's the sound editing or if it's partly sound editing, partly performance, but the owl right in the dick that we get when Jesse like drops the last bit into the box as the box is closing and it's a little bit muffled. Yeah, it was awesome. It was just very funny. I guess I might be a little bit of a child, but it was good.
Your brother would have loved that joke.
Absolutely.
We kill him.
Yes. And then so we get this first story, the first rendition of Kenny's death, Sabina's brother. And from her perspective, Kenny was the one asking Jesse to stop. Right. Which I think is kind of the main distinction here. But also Jesse gets up and says the "Are you entertained?" from Gladiator.
Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained? And I just thought it's interesting that we get to see the other perspective. And I still wonder, even after the episode, which of these is really true.
Sure.
So,
I think the second one is true.
I want it to be.
I don't think teenage Jesse wanted to
murder anybody.
Angrily murder, with intent, his ex-girlfriend's brother.
Yeah.
And definitely wouldn't revel in it like that.
No. The idea that Jody would is...
Yeah, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Especially because teenage Jesse, like we said, he's not really he's not hardened yet. I don't think he'd be able to fake it in order to protect himself. Yeah. Whereas I feel like adult Jesse would.
Yeah.
He'd be able to put on the show of it's okay. Are you not entertained? Kind of thing. And I don't think teenage Jesse would be able to deal with that.
I think this gives context to the eyebrow raise you commented on previously between TC and Jody when they talk about Jesse's pissing off the Boyds, because one of them says sex and the other says murder.
Yep.
TC must be the one that says sex because he's aware of that relationship with Sabina.
Yep.
Maybe Jody wasn't aware of that.
I would say you're 100% right.
Interesting. Yeah.
I still like the idea that that's where their minds gravitated towards, which is also true, I guess.
Yeah.
Those two, it kind of embody those two sins. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. Totally.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. Good job.
Yeah. I still think there might be more to it. I think it'll be interesting. I can't imagine that Jody would let that happen and also not try to get more information on the story necessarily. So I guess we'll see.
That's true.
What happens here. But what do you think about the duality of I guess we've gotten but we've gotten some flashback Jesse in the past, but I feel like this season is much more of I feel like we've seen flashback Jesse in almost every episode this season.
Yeah.
3 of the 4, I think, at least. Do you like that? Do you like that the flashback version of Jesse's become a little bit more of a character and is...
Yeah, I do. I think with the direction the show took Angelville, I think you do kind of need it.
Did they flash back in the comic much to him being a kid in the Angelville stuff?
A little bit, yes.
Okay.
and you do see him as a kid, like with his parents too. There's not a lot of it, and he's younger.
Okay.
You don't really see teenage Jesse.
Yeah.
Very much. But yeah, you do see that. You do get a little bit of it.
Okay. All right. In Act 4, back at the tombs, Jody prepares to fight, but TC explains that Cassidy is gone. Jesse seizes the opportunity to call out all the people there and tell them that God is gone from heaven and that the tombs are closed. Cassidy interrupts with a rendition of Danny Boy as he moves to fight Jesse without a hand, but with an added paper cutter sword. Jesse downs Cassidy a couple times and tries to get him to stay down, while Cassidy keeps getting up because he wants to recover the love potion. When Tulip arrives back at Angelville, she sees Jesse, quote-unquote, finish Cassidy off, and Jesse orders them both to leave.
Angelville.
Louisville. I looked at when I started up the episode, I saw that the still was Cassidy with like that sword on his arm, and I was like, what the hell is that? And then after I saw it again in the episode, I was like, oh, that's hilarious. He just took the paper cutter from the shipping store and taped it to his arm.
Where's his hand?
His hand was, Jesse left it behind and had it kind of like chewed up.
Why do I not remember that?
Because TC holds it up and is like, he chewed himself out of his shackle or whatever.
I see.
So it was kind of their plausible deniability.
Yeah, I got you. That's funny.
For the plan.
Why did I blank out on that part? That's weird. I must have got distracted by something.
It was a very brief.
Yeah.
But no.
Clever.
Yeah, it was good. I did notice here when Jesse's lighting his cigarette, he does have the Zippo.
He does.
With the fuck communism Zippo.
Sweet.
And he opens up with the motherless goat humpers line like he did in the flashback. So that was quite good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when he put on the hat, it was kind of slick to watch him like kind of, assume that character again.
Yeah, like the show, the performance of it, the fact that he like flips it onto his head
the
like
greatest
3
showman.
different times. Yes,
he's the greatest showman.
He is the greatest showman for sure. It is a fun position to see him in the show, at least. And I can't help but imagine like what it would be like if he had the word. Obviously he wouldn't be in the situation, but like
probably not.
The idea of him running the tombs with the word seems like it could be even more sinister and horrible if it was something that he wanted to take part in.
Yeah, that's true.
So it gives him that bully pulpit to What'd you think of the fight? I did like the fight, even though, it is more entertaining to hear them bicker, but I still thought the fight was well shot.
Yeah, it was solid. It wasn't as fantastic to me as a lot of the other fights on this show, but it was good. Like, it was fine.
I think it's a little by function because I think you automatically assume that at least Jesse is pulling his punches a little bit more, and it's not going to be quite as flashy and that kind of thing.
Which is funny because Jesse still just kind of dominates. Like, he's clearly the better fighter.
Yeah,
Cassidy has a lot of things working in his favor, but he just can't seem to capitalize.
He certainly has the advantage of being
vampirism,
essentially unkillable, but it doesn't make him any better of a hand-to-hand fighter.
Yeah, he's just kind of gangly and
as opposed to someone who's had to fend off Jody for 12
most
years
of his life.
Yeah. So
it's true. He's a hell of a teacher.
Yeah, I don't know. Any other thoughts here? His final plea to Tulip of you guys need to leave, I thought was quite good.
Yeah, and I don't know how he drove a stake through Cassidy and didn't kill him.
I thought the same. I was like, oh man, is this Cassidy's exit from the show? I was like, oh god, and
he's fine.
Yeah, he's fine. I mean, that's the thing is that I think
maybe he aimed left.
Yes, he missed the heart by a few inches and therefore didn't actually finish him off. But no, I thought the same thing as well. But then so I guess I'll go to the next act. Cassidy escapes the tombs using a skin suit from the science teacher. Tulip takes him to the bus stop, but despite professing his love, Tulip will not join Cassidy on the bus. Cassidy comes close to using the love potion, but ultimately decides against it and takes a seat on the bus. Featherstone sits behind him shortly after. Tulip heads back to Angelville against Jesse's wishes, and she tells him that if they're going to be okay, he has to level with her, and it turns out, from Jesse's perspective, that Kenny was going to kill him, and he regretted killing Kenny. Tulip and Jesse make up, and in the morning, Tulip pulls Madame Boyd from her trunk to set her free. Boyd tells Tulip that she can kill Grandma to release the spell on Jesse. Finally, back in hell, the Saint of Killers has been whipped to the bone, and Satan contracts him to get Hitler and Eugene back to hell before he can get his weapons back and go after the preacher. The skin suit science teacher situation. Like, as soon as I saw that face, I was like, "Oh, that's Cassidy underneath."
It was gross.
It was very
but really
gross.
funny.
And good use of that character who literally had like probably 5 minutes of screen time in these 4 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was a very recognizable guy.
Yeah, definitely.
And you knew it would be him. You knew that, like, you knew where he was, and you see him kind of at like 3 different time periods at least, or like when Jesse first meets him to lure him into Angelville, and then when he's chained up in the tombs, and then finally when like we're here with Jesse now when he's chained up in the tombs. But I just thought that dude made a real impact with his like first performance, and then also his look and everything about him, I think, was very recognizable. I don't know.
Yeah, it's good. Again, it's like just great casting that the show continues to do. Like, people that you recognize and that stick with you.
Yep, absolutely. Cassidy doesn't use the love potion.
Yes.
Part of me almost thought that like he was going to use it on himself to not love Tulip anymore.
Ooh. I wonder if it works that way.
I don't probably not, but
that's interesting. That would have been a more interesting potion for him to actually pursue.
Yeah. But now maybe he will get to use it on Hitler, which is more comedic gold.
I think he's going to be hanging on to that potion.
You think so?
I wouldn't be surprised if it showed up again later.
So obviously Featherstone sits down behind him on the bus. Where do you think he will go? Like,
he's going to New Orleans. They say on the bus. I
was thinking he might intersect with Eugene and Hitler.
You think so? I think that,
or we could be setting up for some Cassidy
some
alone time.
Some of my knowledge of the book is bleeding into things I think happened on the show, but I don't think they did. So I guess I just won't say anything.
Okay.
Okay,
let me ask you this. Do you know where he goes when he splits off for the Angelville arc? Do you learn anything about that?
You do a little bit,
okay,
but none of it's really concrete. He just kind of was like, "Oh, I was here, and then I was there, and then I was there, and then I was here."
Okay,
and
so it's not like there is a separate story or anything that you see. Or...
No, they bump into him like at like a bar, like a metal concert or something.
Okay,
it's really funny. I think that it's just a chance encounter, and then he decides like to link up with them.
Okay,
but they do. It is awkward because I think he does like Tulip at that point, and she knows it, and she's like, "You can never tell Jesse because he'll kill you." And then in the books, Tulip thinks they got rid of him for good. Like, okay, and then they bump into each other, and they're like, "Okay." She's like, "It's been good seeing you. We gotta go." And then Cass is like, "Oh, what the hell? For old time's sake, why don't I come along?" And it causes a lot of friction between them. Okay. So I feel like that may happen. I mean, he's definitely not done with the show. There's no way.
Yeah,
he'll be in the next episode.
Yeah,
like, he's not gonna disappear.
That was I was like, man, I really would be disappointed if he was gone. And then I was like, there's no way they would get rid of Cassidy without just killing him.
I actually would. I would love it if he was gone for the rest of the season. I would think that that's awesome, or like for most of it, because the break from him, the book, although it's brief, it's good because you spend all your time focusing on Tulip and Jesse. And you need, at that point in the story, though, it's still pretty early, you need more of, like, their foundation. They also haven't really made up yet in the book. They're not, like, good.
Yeah.
And in the show, we see now that they're good.
Yeah.
So they just kind of fast forward through that.
Yeah.
And they've been good before. So we don't need that alone time quite as much. But it's just kind of nice. Because Cass, in my mind, at least having read the book, he's the third wheel. Like, he's not... He's not really he's not the main character.
Yeah.
No, Jesse is the main character. Tulip is like the other main character, and Cass is like, he is a main character, but he has moments where he comes and goes through the story. So to me, it would be acceptable. But I'm like, he's too good. Like, he'll be back in the next one. We'll see what he's up to.
Well, and then I was kind of thinking, I was like, they do have this other region of the show for him to play with in Hitler and Eugene and the Saint. So that was why it, to me, would make sense of him. Like, I was thinking he would run into Eugene and think, oh my God, we need to get you to Jesse so you can, like, so Jesse is aware that you made it out or something like that. I don't know. I guess I don't necessarily.
Potentially.
I haven't thought it through completely yet, but it just seemed like there was. It seems like there's some possibility there for something like that to happen. So, yeah. So you have an idea where you think he might be headed, but you can't.
Yeah, I do. I'm wondering, what was the address that Jesse was going to ship him to?
Yeah. Would it mean something to you if I had it on me?
The numbers wouldn't know, but it was New Orleans.
It was in New Orleans. Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I don't know who he's going to. Like, where's he sending him? That he's just gonna.
I was just thinking it was
the apartment.
Denis' apartment.
Denis' apartment.
Denis.
Yeah, it probably was.
I haven't thought about Denis in a while.
Denis. I think. Denis is on a website in season 2.
Yeah. The what is it called? I have it here somewhere, I'm sure.
I know what it's called.
Okay, what's it called?
L'Enfant
Terrible?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's from Metal Gear
That's
Solid.
Metal Gear Solid.
L'Enfant du Sang.
Yes.
That's where I think he's going.
Okay. Interesting.
That's all I'll say.
All right. Yeah. So, I mean, he's on a bus, so it's not like he's just getting mailed there, right? So he has to choose to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And he saw that too.
Mm-hmm.
He saw that stuff, so he knows those people are there.
I think he's feeling like maybe in this moment, Jess and Tulip are not his people, and he needs to find other people.
Other people like him.
So we'll see. Somewhere where he can belong.
Interesting.
I think that's where he's headed.
Yeah, that makes sense.
As far as who the Saint, I guess that's the next part of this recap.
Yeah.
I really liked the scene between him and Tulip. I thought it was appropriate, both, from a moral standpoint, to not use the love potion, but also for the show. If he had in that moment, I would have just barfed everywhere because, no. Sorry.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Yeah. No,
I liked his line about Bimini.
Yeah.
It was a good, fun callback.
Totally. No, and it's a great last line for that interaction, at least.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was good, and I think Tulip reacted exactly as we
hoped and prayed.
Expected, speculated that she would.
Yes. Yep. Exactly. Exactly so. I felt really relieved when she was like, "Yeah, but I don't love you."
Yeah. What did you think about her and Jesse, them making up?
It's great. Thank goodness. They've shown them being so passionate so many times in the show. I expected a little more, but instead they just come in for this quick kiss and then cut to next morning.
That's I kind of thought that was what you were going to say, because it seemed like it could have been more.
Yeah, and it didn't need to be gratuitous, but a little bit more might have been nice.
You could have at least beaten a door down.
We want to see that. Yeah, we want to see that that makeup, and this will probably be the permanent makeup. Maybe not, I guess, but. I don't really know. The show has done so much with the two of them that's different than the books. I don't really know.
It could go anywhere.
But the actual kiss is really cool, because at the end of the Angelville arc in the comics, there's a big giant. It's like the first real makeup kiss between them, and it's like the Princess Bride kiss. It's awesome, but it's blocked exactly like that pretty much. Cool. So when they kind of came in and did that, I was like, this feels like a callback to the panel, which is neat. The backdrop of the kiss is not nearly as insane as it is in the comic, which is a little bit of a bummer, but it probably could happen again. I don't know. We'll see.
They could call back to that moment.
Those who have read
on.
the book know what I'm talking about. It's anything's possible with this show.
So yeah, we do get that flashback again. We get to see Jesse's side of it, and as we said previously, I'm like, it seems like there's room for it to be wrong, but I do want to believe that Jesse's version is the true version of events. But in reality, it could be something in the middle, like it is in life.
I like to think that Tulip just knows Jesse, like at his core and in his heart better, and that's why when Madame Boyd says it, she's like, no, because she like thinks he's not capable of that, and even when she sees him do it to Cass, she understands why he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
And I think she probably would assume that was kind of what happened as well. I didn't really talk about the scenes of her driving and that light that she stops at.
Yeah. I actually absolutely forgot to bring that up.
Do you think it's the same light, or do you think that's just what these roads are like out there? Do you think she's driving in circles trying to figure out what to do, or do you think that she has been put into some weird loop?
God is like directing her to where she needs to go,
or is looping her until she makes a decision about how she feels about something, maybe, and she doesn't know it. She's just driving all night and doesn't really realize it. Maybe she's driving off the frame and back in from the other side, because she keeps getting stopped at that light, and like it looks the same. I didn't go back and watch it again, and the second time I took note of the two light posts, and I didn't notice them.
You want to know what corner? Yeah.
So there's always things about like the Devil's Crossroads and that kind of thing, and she does go straight, I think, the first time, and then the second time, or at least the last time, she turns right. So I don't know because God rolls up, which is awesome. That effect. That shot is so cool. The show does so many beautiful things like that and so many cool effects. The ones at the end of the saint, like wandering out of Satan's office, looked like shit. I'll just say, like, I thought, okay, this is really bad looking. On the way in, it wasn't that bad. On the way out, though, it didn't look good. But the effect of God here is so neat. I was like, who shot this and directed this? And please make a Ghost Rider movie or show or something, because it just looked so like unearthly and creepy but cool at the same time, and like the sound effect is a big part of it too. Like that whole moment, I was just like, whoa, that was sweet. Like I really dug that.
Well, and the woman's hair, me it was pose. Just the pose and like the flowing locks blowing in the wind as God speeds by it
just looks
Mach
at her.
7.
Yeah, exactly. God mode, Godspeed.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting thought. I didn't really think about it that way, because I was kind of torn about whether or not she was actually lost, or, as you were saying, like if it was her trying to decide what to do with Boyd, of like, I don't know if I should take you back to Angelville,
right?
Or so, but it seems a little on the nose for it to be like, oh, she's not only lost physically but also emotionally on what to do. But I mean, yeah,
it's possible.
No, absolutely, and that could totally. It seemed as though, like, I wonder if God passing by her and her like deciding to turn, because I think that's when she decided to turn, right? Was him? Did he need Cassidy to be out of the picture for some reason, or did he think she would see that and be driven away from Jesse, or like, who know? I don't know. I guess I don't know what his.
It was interesting. Yeah, I think it's something that merits a little more like meditation.
Yeah,
is why he cruises by in that scene.
Yeah,
and he goes straight. He goes through the intersection, and she turns right. I was thinking kind of interesting too.
Yeah,
I don't know if she's no longer on his path for her, or if he was cruising by to check in and be like, "Hey, hook a right.
Yeah,
you don't need to be on this road anymore." It's cool, and I think it's open to interpretation. So sound off.
Yeah.
I also loved the Toyota Corolla joke. That was
Yes.
funny. Like, it was funny enough on its own, and then I liked when it came back. Right as she pulls up, the dude reaches his car, runs all the way next to it to turn it off, and then turns around and runs back in. I was like, I would have been like 100 feet away, just like,
clicking
can
it
I get
as you
it?
walk
Yeah,
forward.
exactly.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, that was very good.
Very well done. That's
to the owner
joke.
of a blue Toyota Corolla. I don't know why you have an alarm, but it's going off.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Very good.
I like the notion that somebody bothered to like come in on their way in and be like, "Yeah, the Tombs. By the way, there's a Corolla. The alarm going off in the parking lot. You may want to ask."
It reminded me of the. There's a scene in Fight Club where Norton and Brad Pitt they're walking down the street using baseball bats to set off car alarms, and they see a Volkswagen Beetle and hit it.
Yeah.
And in the commentary, they talk about how they both hate that car. They hate it so much that like when they looked at it, they're like, "Oh yeah, this car's definitely getting."
Yeah, because they do that.
hit.
They have a glance with each other, kind of like.
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, look at this joke."
Yeah, exactly.
And so like it's Rogan and Goldberg being like, "Yeah, Corollas suck," or whatever. Whoever the writers that were breaking this one were, they're just like, "Yeah,
Screw
Toyota
that car.
Corollas are the I don't know,
nerd car."
yeah. No offense to anybody with the Toyota Corolla.
Oh, of course not.
But I thought it was a funny joke. So two last things. Boyd, do you think Boyd is being straight up with Tulip about killing Grandma? Do you think that will legitimately release the debt?
I don't know, because TC seems to imply that
there's nothing
you can do, and maybe if one of the two members of the contract dies, the contract is void.
Yeah.
The universe might decide so.
I was kind of the mind of like, okay, if Grandma dies and they leave that filing cabinet of napkins, Boyd could sweep in and do something with them.
Interesting. Does she acquire the contracts then?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she doesn't have a lot of reason to be truthful. She has a little bit, but even Tulip's kind of like, why should I trust you?
Yeah.
And I think that that's a great question.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, so the contracts from Satan for the Saint of Killers, my mind immediately went to Hitler and Eugene.
You're probably right. I didn't go there for me. I was more focused on the expansion and his phone call with the Allfather. And I'm assuming he's speaking in terms of like hell on earth kind of thing.
Yeah.
And why Hitler and Eugene would throw a wrench in the works is interesting, other than that they escaped. But you think he would just write it off and be like, but if his expansion is contingent on him having never lost souls, if his investors, if you will, are like, hey, you two, not only one, but two people escaped, and one of them is Adolf Hitler, like, what can we trust you with?
Yeah, well, and that's the conversation at the beginning of the episode. He talks about keeping up appearances.
Yes.
The fact that he's got to be Satan, he has to appear to be Satan, and he has to embody that evil.
Yes.
He
may. I mean, and the phone call with the Allfather might have been like the Allfather saying, "Hey, man, I heard two people escaped. What are you doing down there?" And he's like, "Oh, it's fine. I got it in hand. I got my best men on it."
Yeah. Well, and I think he does mention something about the Allfather keeping up his end of the deal or something. Does it make sense to you that they would be?
Not really.
Okay.
To be honest. Also,
is them talking surprising?
Who, the Allfather and Satan?
Yeah.
A little. Yeah.
Because we know that the Allfather and God, talked probably before God left, but the idea
it makes
that
me think that the Allfather is. I think Herr Starr legitimately will, like, in his mind, serves God. And I think the Allfather might be looking to go a different direction with the Grail, and there's going to be some tension there.
Okay.
Just to put it lightly. There will be some tension. What does make zero sense to me is what the hell the Saint of Killers is doing on the show without his guns. This sticks in my craw. As soon as he said you're going to go on this journey without your weapons, I was like, Nick is going to hate this. 110%. Because if we're driving towards the Allfather stuff, and the Saint of Killer is back in the mix, he needs his guns. Like, he needs them.
Well, but
I'm sure he will find another weapon to be deadly with, and if we see a sequence of the Saint of Killers walking with like 2 M16s, it'll be hard for me to not enjoy that. But they're not like infinite ammo, no reloads like his.
Well, and I was kind of thinking
they don't shoot tank rounds like his other guns seem to do.
I was thinking more along the lines of like he probably will need to have Hitler back in hell before the end of the season. And therefore, if something were to happen towards the end of the season with the Allfather and, like I feel as though those weapons will be back in his hands by the end of the season is my
That's fair.
thinking.
It's hard. It's not fair for me to just jump ahead and say they're doing it wrong. If certain encounters happen without the Saint at like full Saint, then I'll be irritated.
Okay.
Because you could adapt the book. You can change certain things to fit the show and in ways that make sense. But you cannot change things that make zero sense to change. I don't. There are certain things that happen in the book that you cannot improve on, and I think that most of what happens with the Saint you can't top. It's just so ready to be adapted exactly the way it is in live action. So
to me, it maybe smells of like a near miss. Like they might have the Saint run into someone who he needs to not be able to kill.
Good point. Well, he can still kill, though. That's the thing.
He can still kill, but he will be less lethal from a distance.
Yes.
Without his guns.
It's fine.
Maybe.
I'm sure they've got it in hand. They clearly enjoy the character.
Yeah.
So they're not going to screw up the things that make him tick. So I need to just like chill out, I guess.
Yeah.
It was definitely something though that as soon as it happened, as soon as he was like my weapons, I was like, give them to him right now. And then it didn't happen, and I was like, okay. So that's fine.
Yeah. I'm
sure it'll be fine.
I think it'll work out.
It usually does. Again, what did I say at the top of this episode? They do it all for a reason, and I tend to really enjoy what they decide to do. So
yeah,
I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm excited for the next episode. What's the next one called? It's called The Coffin.
It is called The Coffin, yes.
Yeah, it's coming.
Yep. Well, I think
if the spirit of John Wayne shows up, although that happens when he's a kid, whatever, I'll shit if it happens.
We'll see.
It'll be awesome.
It could.
No, it won't.
Maybe they didn't have the money to do the ghost John Wayne.
It won't happen, which is fine. Like the stuff that they're doing is great.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, it was a solid episode. I don't think it was my favorite of this season. I think it was good.
I think I might like it more upon a rewatch. Like, I think a lot of what Joseph said in his email about the fact that, like, we were putting everyone through the ringer in these first 4 episodes and in some of season 2 and have gotten to a point where Cass has defaulted on using the love potion, and we know that Jesse's intentions are fairly pure. I like that we've turned that page.
That's true.
At least
I do agree 100% with that.
The episode itself maybe seems a little bit perfunctory, or like everything is moving into place for more stuff to happen. For them to finally start dealing with the conflict of Angelville.
That's a great point.
But I think they still did it very well, and I'm excited to see where it goes. So,
yeah, I really loved episodes 2 and 3.
Yeah,
this is a good season.
It is a very good season.
I like it. I'm gonna say that I like it better than season 2.
Yeah,
currently.
Yeah, no, I completely
even though
agree with that.
Season 2 had so much good going for it. This one just feels a little more like I know which direction the train is going. So,
and it feels like they're hitting on all cylinders instead of just like leaving a little bit. Like last season, it was like, oh man, Hair Star is great.
Yeah,
but I don't like what's going on with Tulip and blah blah blah. But it feels like in this season, in the beginning, we were like a little tired of Cassidy or unhappy with what was going on with him. But now it feels like we're getting to a place where that isn't. He's spending some time apart from them.
Yes,
and that's great.
we have some closure on the love triangle right now. That Tulip has said no.
Yep.
No, thank you.
Yep.
Pass.
Yeah.
Do not feel the same.
I think things are a little more copacetic with what we are enjoying.
Yeah.
So,
agreed.
Yeah. Once again, you can find more episodes of our podcast at g2tpodcast.com. That's the letter G, number 2, letter T, podcast.com. We're also on TV Time, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, and Google Play Music. We're G2T Podcast on Twitter, and you can email us at g2tpodcast@gmail.com for any kind of feedback. That's corrections, observations, or anything regarding Preacher or our podcast. The Midwest Podcast Network has other shows about video games, horror movies, FX's The Alienist, and HBO's Westworld. Find out more about these shows as well as how to support the network at MidwestPodcastNetwork.com. Our theme music is the song All In by The Red Thread, and it is being used under a non-commercial Creative Commons license. That's all for this episode of Gone to Texas. We can't wait to see what next week's episode of Preacher brings, but until then, go forth and speak the good word.